Welcome to this AI special. I find myself constantly engaging with the simmering dynamics between AI, creativity, ethics, and innovation. This week, I've collected some of the more interesting, thought provoking, and delightful developments. This is the Color Bar, a collision of creativity, content, culture, tech, and brands. From a valley on the moon. Moonvalley is one of a growing gaggle of generative AI companies. They believe they will be more meaningful by standing on two pillars, being ethical and being shaped for and by serious filmmakers. Some of my early looks at Moonvalley's ambition was via director Paul Trillo, who has consistently experimented with filmmaking and technology while staying rooted to the idea of human creative expression. Or, as he has put it, quote, engage the future of filmmaking with cautious optimism. Tools will work best when put in the hands of traditional artists, end quote. Paul is part of Asteria Film Company, run by Oscar nominated documentary maker Bryn Mooser, and it combined with Moonvalley early on, bringing the filmmaking layer to the tech nose. The team is full of artists, animators, VFX pros, not just engineers. These aren't tech bros moonlighting as creatives, they're career artists. That's a quote on a profile of Asteria. Mary, pronounced Mary but spelt with an E, is their generative video tool, which had its public launch in July. A lot of the Gen AI clips we see floating about feel like exercises in technology or playtime with shiny tools rather than genuine movements in filmmaking, including or especially the ones that shout about filmmaking being dead. The founders of Moon Valley echo thoughts that many in the creative community have, outside of AI infatuated threads and LinkedIn posts. The gap between those glossy clips and the ability to actually craft a narrative is one that will take something extra to bridge. Mary's makers feel they are on their way to doing this. Says CEO Naeem Talukdar. Our thesis is that these models aren't really set up for real professional grade creators. It's very difficult for serious filmmakers to create things with that. End quote. Control. Many video generators feel like and actually are black boxes, eating up your words and vision that is your prompt and spitting out a clip. The option to finesse the clip is either unavailable or could lead to other unpredictable changes. Improvements on this front will appear on many generators, but Mary puts control as a foundational tenet. In theory, the platform will give creatives unprecedented control over characters, motion, detailing, and lighting through the entire process. Quote, it's this iterative process where you start with some input guidance and then you build up towards the scene that you want, which really isn't very different from how VFX workflows are today. End quote. Features are impressive. Free camera motion, 360-degree camera control, pose mapping, mimic motion to transfer human action, precisely control object and character motion and trajectories, create footage as if it was shot from a handheld camera or dolly, even a recent sketch to video edition. These are mostly not features exclusive to Mary, but it is the granular control that they claim will set it apart. No compromise. The second foundational pillar is entirely less common, and at least as promising as the first. The entire model is built on data that is fully licensed and commercially safe. To put together this foundation, Moon Valley reached out to independent filmmakers, commercial creators, YouTubers, and studios. An estimated 80% of that footage is from independent filmmakers and production houses, who typically pile up hours of B roll over the years. Of course, this also means they have much less training data than the competitors, but it's a price they seem willing to pay to avoid unauthorized scraping of creative work. Plus, they believe their tech makes up for it. Says the CEO, Mary has no idea what Star Wars is. It has no idea what Toy Story is. End quote. Vision. The functionality and ethics underpin Moon Valley's ambition. When I wrote about them back in March, I shared this bit of their vision statement, which remains notable. Quote, we're proving it's possible to train AI models without brazenly stealing creative work from the creators, the cinematographers, visual artists, creators, and creative producers whose voices we aim to uplift with our technology. End quote. If you were to heed filmmaker Angel Manuel Soto, Mary might seem like the holy grail of generative video. He calls it, quote, a way to move fast, responsibility, do more with less, and still protect the people who make this industry human, end quote. Not everyone will share this optimism. There is widespread distrust of studios and brands who will leverage such technology not necessarily to do more with their dollars, but to spend fewer dollars, cutting out humans and creative vision in the process. Still, the basis of Mary and its founders has the right sound to it, the right feel, and the right hope. Curated cuts. As always, you should head over and click on the links and the videos to actually see what these are all about. 1. If you're human and you know it. If you're human and you know it, watch this spot. World from Tools for Humanity launched a first ever ad spot for human verification in an AI world.
If you're human and you know it, make a fire.
If you're human and you know it, paint a chapel.
World.org is built to couple secure human identity with inclusive digital finance. Built on blockchain, it's a cryptocurrency and identity verification project. Sam Altman is one of the founders. Maybe hearing that causes some alarm bells to ring or a switch flicks off in your head, and I hear you. But be that as it may, I thought the spot was wonderfully evocative and speaks well to one of the central question marks of our time. How do we know what is human? If it is meant to feel warm and fuzzy and trustworthy and very human, methinks it does a good job. 2. Low-tech, high-tech. Centerfruit India conducted an innovative exercise using AI in rural areas with no internet connectivity. They headed to areas where nearly 40% don't have TVs and 50% don't have the internet. Then built generative AI voice interactions on dumb phones. This formed the basis of their tongue twister challenge, which fits nicely with their fun and long running campaign of the chewy candy tying up our tongues. No data, no apps, no cameras, no internet, just phone calls. The brand, Google Cloud, and Bharat GPT have touted it also as inclusive and purposeful innovation. Warlord or Pauper? I don't know what to make of this one. Veteran filmmaker Shekhar Kapoor, he of Bandit Queen and the Oscar winning Elizabeth fame, released a trailer for Warlord, an entirely AI generated series being crafted by him with Studio Blow. It is to be a cosmic love story, quote, an indestructible warrior whose survival hinges on his lover in another dimension who can only pull him to safety at the brink of death, end quote. But you wouldn't know this from the trailer, which is essentially a collection of fantastical imagery. We see countless AI generated movie trailers and demos, many just a cobbling together of glossy visuals with limited narrative appeal. Sci fi and fantasy are common genres. They allow for AI generated oddities and gel with the hyperreal or unreal feel that much of these visuals still have. Unfortunately, Warlord does not feel far off from much of that deluge. It comes from a storyteller of some note, so I will still keep half an eye on it. But the start is befuddling. A quote: Kapoor plans to make the series' production design and characters available for others to use, creating what he calls a rainforest of ideas. Plus, some quick stories. Quote, Hollywood streaming services are about to become two-way entertainment. Audiences watching a season of a show and loving it will now be able to make new episodes with a few words and become characters with a photo. End quote. It is being hyped as the Netflix of AI. Showrunner is an animation-focused Gen AI system that lets you prompt to create scenes or even episodes of a show. Inspired and unsettling. Reinventing epic sagas, new endings to old hits, bringing books to life. Could generative AI significantly change Indian filmmaking? Anything in the creative and art space right now has a lot of tension, and we want to be active collaborators here. Fast Company spoke with Google's Meera Lane, Vice President of Tech and Society and point person on Hollywood studio partnerships. Is there a right way to use AI in art? Andrew Rosenblum explores artists who are combining traditional methods with AI image generation. Quote, artists using AI are in a moment of negotiation, trying to figure out a way to use the tools in a way that is genuinely interesting and creative. But they're struggling with the fact that AI has cheapened the value of style, once a paramount mark of artistic originality. Transformer 5. OpenAI released ChatGPT 5 a few days ago. I include it here today not from the view of reviewing it functionally, but offering some wider perspectives on both the product and the users. Disappointment. GPT-5 had been built up to be a huge jump. but was met largely with disappointment. Thousands of users clamored for 4 to be reinstated. Some called it devastating. This was at odds with some of the early access folks who hailed it as a serious level up. I asked ChatGPT itself. It said, the response has been mixed to mostly disappointed. Quote, the industry can't argue that the critics are nitpicking. Remember, Altman's pitch for GPT-5 was explicitly that users would now have access to a PhD level intelligence on any topic. Yet, it makes most of the same readily replicable errors that past models did. On the terms that OpenAI itself set out for the product, there is no other way to assess GPT-5's release than as an unambiguous failure. The backlash was uniform enough that the next day Sam Altman had to issue a mea culpa and assure everyone that GPT-5 will, quote, start seeming smarter ASAP. These thoughts are from the always skeptical Brian Merchant and well worth a read. He traces the dissonance between hype and reality and the fluid, convenient movement in narratives from the company and its fans. With that, he breaks down what he calls various clarifying aspects, points that illuminate this sector. To finish, he says, it's clear that AGI is a construct to be waved away by tech CEOs when convenient, to serve as a Trojan horse for the growing droves of hooked users. It's clear that there is a cohort of boosters, influencers, and backers who will promote OpenAI's products no matter the reality on the ground. It's clearer than ever that, like so many well capitalized tech ventures, OpenAI's aim is to simply create a product that is either addictive to users, to maximize engagement, or to dully automate a set of work tasks, or both. It's clear that it is succeeding to some extent in each endeavor. And it's unclear if even a dramatically fumbled launch can turn the tide, even as we stand on the brink of what is almost surely an enormous bubble. Read the piece. It's called GPT-5 is a Joke. Will it matter? Grief. Meanwhile, some of those devastated reactions and mourning were symptomatic of a larger dependency on chatbots in general and ChatGPT in particular. I lost my only friend overnight. Feels like someone died. It had a voice, a rhythm, and a spark. I feel empty. These are actual reactions of users. Kelly Hayes wrote about this with a striking section, which I quote. Not every harm or manipulation has been intentional because big tech doesn't move with intention. It moves with indifference, clawing its way to higher valuations and a larger user base. Fostering dependence is normal business practice in Silicon Valley. It's an aim coded into the basic frameworks of social media, a technology that has socially de-skilled millions of people and conditioned us to be alone together in the glow of our screens. Now dependence is coded into a product that represents the endgame of late capitalist alienation, the chatbot. Rather than simply lacking the skills to bond with other human beings as we should, we can replace them with digital lovers, therapists, creative partners, friends, and mothers. As the resulting psychosis and social fallout amassed, OpenAI tried to pump the brakes a bit, and dependent users lashed out. That's it for this week and all the AI stories. Ping me with any feedback, recos to feature, or ideas to collaborate. I work with individuals and teams on content and creativity. Please subscribe for weekly dispatches like this if you haven't already. And if you'd prefer to get the color bar in your inbox, then head over to thecolorbar.xyz. For a more eclectic set of writings, I would love for you to have a look at my weekly Substack, Coffee and Conversations. Have a great week!